But I was 22 years old going to Niagara Falls to an ISC qualifier, and I honestly didn't have a clue other than the fact the other pitcher on our team was Justin Bieber's bodyguard. That was the only thing I knew about our team.
Hang on we're not skipping over. What?
Garrity.
Oh, Garrity. Oh, Jesus. All right.
Garrity missed the first game of the qualifier because Bieber changed his rehearsal time. And I was like, what do you mean Bieber changed his rehearsal time? And they were like, yeah, Greg's not going to be here. You got to pitch.
I didn't know that, man.
Yeah. So that was my introduction to the ISC. My first ISC qualifier, our ace pitcher missed the first game because Justin Bieber changed his rehearsal schedule.
But I'm unhappy now. For courting 6 girls all at once they used me. My mother said it was naughty. But I said if it's naughty, sure it's also very nice. And the lollipops is growing. The benches are clearing.
Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly is brought to you by CoolBet. If you got a few extra bucks rattling around in your arse pocket, CoolBet Sportsbook will double your first deposit up to $200 when you use the bonus code DUSTUP. Head over to coolbet.com and get in on the fastest growing entertainment sector in the world. That bonus code again is DUSTUP, one word, all capital letters, DUSTUP. Welcome back, folks. Episode 26 of Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly. And Hilly, we're back after about 2.5 months, 2 months for sure, since we released our last one. Long season. It was, another great season of ball, and now we get to come back on here recording episodes. I'm excited about it, and we got an absolute banger to come back with our good buddy Justin Schofield coming on with us.
Yeah, we got the big dog in the house tonight, fresh off his naming to Team Canada for 2022, Auckland, New Zealand, and Scope had a great summer, man. He's a good storyteller, and look forward to having a chat with him.
Yes, man. A little bit about what he's done in the game. 2-time ISC champ, 2017 hero for his province, bringing home the Canadian National Championships. He's a multi-time top pitcher at the Canadians, 2-time MVP there, and won a couple of All-Americans. He's just a great competitor, a winner, beauty of a teammate, and as you said, a hell of a storyteller. So let's get right to it. Justin Schofield. Yes, bye. Scofie, Hilly. We got Justin Schofield on with us. Welcome, buddy. Great to have you here.
Boys. Thanks for having me.
Can't think of a better guy to get on after, over 2 months now without being on. Busy summer. I know it was a busy summer for you. What's it like? We'll go through a bunch of stuff as we do, but what's it like now back in Grand Pré after a busy season? What do you got going on over there?
Well, trying to get back to normal a little bit. I mean, working 40 hours a week sucks. Didn't do that much of that during the summer.
Right.
League playoffs is still going on and that stuff here, but mostly just kind of, getting back home, being around on a weekend or two. I think at one point it was 12 straight weekends away.
Yes.
So not that I'm complaining because I loved it, but it was a long time between weekends for me at home. But no, it's good. It's just more or less getting back into the kind of the normal grind of things. That's all.
That's what I said to my boss the other day. I was like, Colin, I was like, do we get Monday off with the Queen funeral? He goes, holy fuck, old man. He said, you just had all summer off.
Yeah, he knows what it's like. He can't say nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Colin Levitt did that for 30 years. But So what's today, boys? I think, 21st? Yeah, 21st of September, we're recording this one. Scope, you're not long back home from Newfoundland. How's the hangover situation? You over it? The blood sugars and everything getting back to normal?
Everything should be good. I'm just pacing myself for my next trip over. I go next month over for a moose hunt in Newfoundland. So I just got to make sure I keep everything all even keel, you see, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess it was either, it was dual purpose, that Nationals. It was kind of a priming up for the liver.
That's right.
For the moose hunting trip. Do you know where you're going?
Codroy Valley. I've been there a few times before, yeah.
Lucas Hibbs over here. that's where his family's from, is Codroy Valley. That Lucas that does the podcast with us. So that's
October 8th. I'm heading over. Yeah.
Oh, well, I might have offline. I might have to give you the lowdown at Codroy Valley, what I know about it. But that's awesome. But let's talk about kind of the here and now with this past season. And you guys had it was pretty exciting for the ISC circuit with the emergence of the Bear Creek team. And it was great to see that team step up. And you see teams coming into the ISC all the time, but it's once every 10 or so years that a team of that quality comes in and can make a big splash, primarily with a lot of Canadian players. How did that whole thing come to be, and how did you get involved with it?
Well, last year, I went with those guys to the Rawlings Grand Slam event in Saskatchewan. And the sponsor and the coach really presented that they wanted to go full bore this year, and their main priorities was promoting home talent. You know, they wanted to have as much Canadian talent on that team as they possibly could, if not all Canadian talent. The sponsor spoke about having lots of guys from Ontario, and trying to have a top 4 ISC team that competed to win every weekend and had a chance to win the ISCs. You know, he was realistic. He knew starting a team first year, his expectations were to compete. He didn't want to try to just say, all right, we're going to win this or bust. Like, we want to try to build this the right way. We want to try to do it with homegrown talent. And when they started presenting that to me, and then all of a sudden the names of Sean Cleary, Ryan Boland, Derek Mason, and all those guys start to come up, then it was a no-brainer. It was, to be honest, it reminded me a lot of some of the stories of what Terry Bader used to share with me with the Gators about what Jack Farman was all about when he made the Gators. He wanted it to be all Canadians. He wanted as many guys from Ontario when he wanted to win the ISCs. It reminded me a lot of the mentality of that group, which obviously I was a part of before and loved being with those guys too.
Yeah, I remember talking to Bradley about it, because we played you guys first game of that. Well, we were with Saskatoon, but we played you guys first game of the Grand Slam event last year, and you guys were already like really good, obviously. And we were like, we were chatting about it, wondering if you guys were going to make a run at the ISC, because we're like, geez, you know, those guys got the, you know, a core going already. They're only a few pieces away being like a legit team in the ISCs, and sure enough, here you guys are.
Yeah, and Scott and Elena were as first class of sponsors as I've ever been a part of. And then the coaches put a lot of time and effort into it, especially the off the field stuff of, you know, the recruiting players and putting that team together. For a first year team in the prawn era, it's really difficult to build a better team than what they built on year one. I mean, obviously you guys went through it with Hill in 2011 or 12 or whatever it was, that Hill United was formed in the prawn rules. It's tough to do, and they did a really, really good job of putting a competitive team out there that had as good a chance to win it as anybody. So, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, Hilly and I were talking about that pretty well throughout the summer, that it was the closest thing that reminded us of when Hill United first started. And we compare it to the Gators as well, right? When the Gators came back in 2016, I believe it was, but it wasn't a brand new team. You know, it was kind of the revamp of a storied ISC team with the Gators. But seeing how that team came together, and the fact that it was primarily built on homegrown Canadian talent, but all the other ISC teams, especially the ones that have been around for a while, with the Gremlins, Hill United, Kitchener, all these ones, well, fuck, we're going to have to worry about these guys, right? They got to be on the radar, and they got to be on the radar now. And then we're obviously buddies with the guys from Newfoundland that joined that team, and even as recent as the Nationals here, and you hear Ryan Boland and Colin Walsh and Sean and these guys talking about how welcoming that sponsorship group was, the coaching staff, and then just the family environment. They said it made it seem like you played on a team and played together for years, and that's one of the intangibles that makes a top team. And it's great to see another Canadian team coming out of that. And what was the walk-away message after the season wrapped up? I know you guys, you competed really well in every single tournament. What was They said they wanted to go into that this year and compete, not just win or bust. What was the walk-away message?
Well, it was actually a little bit of a little bit of negative and then a lot of positive, because Scott spoke to the group after, which Scott didn't do that a lot throughout the year. I mean, he was definitely a guy that spoke to you as an individual all the time, but as far as addressing the team as a group, I think that was kind of his first time doing that. And basically what he said was there was no disappointment whatsoever on their behalf, that they were really happy with the effort that we put forth and understood we come up short. But also he said there was also some, they wanted to be a little bit better. They wanted to go out and improve, wanted to get to Saturday, wanted to get into that game Saturday night, wanted a better chance to win. So as much as they weren't disappointed in our finish, they also reminded us that, we're not just happy with finishing fourth next year. We want to be better. And they were really good about making it feel like that family environment. And it was a personal experience. Like every time you went to the hotel, whether it was Scott or Elena or whoever it was, they wanted to know if the rooms were okay, or if the accommodations were good enough, or did the rental car go okay? How was your flight? It wasn't just, okay, we played tonight at 8, see you at the field. It was a personal experience, and I was really, really happy with how the season went with them, and they are a first-class sponsorship, that's for sure.
That's awesome, man. And it does make a big difference. Like in myself and Malali and yourself back in 16 and 17, I think it was, with Hill United, like we would treat it the same way. When you just got to worry about playing ball and all the other stuff is taken care of, it's a relief. It's a stress relief. And you can just focus on the on-field stuff, right? And it makes a big difference in your performance. The one thing I wanted to say about your team, though, it was nice to see our buddy Horny back, Brandon Horn.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, Horny had 2-3 years off?
2018 was his last one, I believe, with Kitchener, with Lolly, wasn't it?
There you go. I mean, we only played you guys a few times. But it looked like the Horny of old. Like he hasn't missed a beat.
And he hasn't aged a bit. He's in next to Austin Powers in that decompression chamber or whatever it was. It's like they thought him out and put him back on the ball field, man. He never missed a beat. Not a wrinkle, not a gray hair, not a pound on him.
I went to that St. Clements tournament early with those guys. It was in May. It was just to go get some innings, and it was only the Ontario guys and myself and Colin. And Horny was there, and first time I'd seen him since 2018. And like you just said, Lolly, like he never aged. I looked at him, I was like, man, I wonder if he's going to step back in the box here and still have it. And I'm not sure if it was his first pitch, because Horny doesn't like to swing at the first pitch, but I'm sure it was his first at bat. Steps in the box, inside pitch, laces it down the third baseline, stand up triple, third base. And I was just like, that man just took like 3 or 4 years off the game of softball, stepped in the box and hits triple on his first at bat. Like that's not fair. That's too good. No, he was awesome. Love him.
I'm at the point now. I take 3 weeks off now. I feel like I need training wheels again. I do this.
Yeah. Well, you're not lying. I tell you what, but it was impressive to see. And we talk about Horny on here a fair bit as we look back to some of the years, but he's a guy that fits into that environment that you're talking about. A gamer, hell of a teammate, and just a guy you want around. So that's cool. But maybe we'll take a stroll here, Scofie. We'll take a little stroll down memory lane. We're gonna bounce a little bit all over the place, just like we said coming on here. Wanted it to be a discussion, not so much an interview. But I heard your couple of appearances on Outside the Shoot, and if you want to see the grassroots starts and all that, I encourage our listeners to go check out your episode there. I want to pick up when the ISC really came on your radar as an emerging, junior pitcher. You're starting to find your footing. When did the ISC come in your mind as a goal, and how did you make the jump from playing locally and provincially with Nova Scotia teams to getting on that circuit and planning to make your stamp there?
I'll be honest. I didn't even know what the ISCs was until 2010. I know that we didn't have the same social media and some of the technology was different at that time, but Blake Hunter came to Nova Scotia to play in 2010 for our junior team. Okay. And I can remember going and spending time with him at one of our coach's place, at Rod O'Leary's place, because Blake was there by himself for the summer. Rod was away working. and he was constantly online trying to find a stream on Al's fastball, looking up scores. And I was like, what are you even watching? Like, what are you even looking for? I had no idea. Like, I know that that's stupid of me, but like I was 20 years old and I was like, I remember we watched the stream of the finals that Fibsy came in and closed, which would have been the 2010 ISC finals.
Yep.
And Blake was going on about how they're doing this with Ethier and Fibs, and they're doing this with these guys. And I was like, who's Fibs? Who like, I don't know who this is. Like, I have no idea who these guys are. And I think, to be honest, between Blake and maybe Corey Avery or Donnelly Archibald or some of those guys that were a little bit older than me that kind of said that there was something more out there. And then when 2012 came around, Donnelly Archibald was the guy who got my first plane ticket away to an ISC tournament. That was with the Toronto Gators in 2012. And when I got there, like, I didn't know what I was showing up to. I didn't have a clue. Like, I was blind to what it was. But I was 22 years old going to Niagara Falls to an ISC qualifier, and I honestly didn't have a clue other than the fact the other pitcher on our team was Justin Bieber's bodyguard. That was the only thing I knew about our team.
Hang on now. We're not skipping over. What?
Garrity.
Oh, Garrity. Oh, Jesus. All right.
Garrity missed the first game of the qualifier because Bieber changed his rehearsal time. And I was like, what do you mean Bieber changed his rehearsal time? And they were like, yeah, Greg's not going to be here. You got to pitch.
I didn't know that, man.
Yeah. So that was my introduction to the ISC. My first ISC qualifier, our ace pitcher missed the first game because Justin Bieber changed his rehearsal schedule.
Oh, I could throw a corny dad joke after corny dad joke. Like, is it too late? Did Greg come back and say, is it too late now to say sorry? Or no?
He showed up the next day. He was good.
Yeah. No, but that's so that must have been an eye opener, right?
It was
to jump on.
Yeah.
Did you know anything about the Gators organization before that?
All I knew about the Gators was that they came to Halifax in '95 for an exhibition series, and a whole bunch of the boys played against them that were older guys. Like, I knew the Gators, I knew the name, I knew Darren Zach, I knew some of the stories, but like, in all fairness, it's not like we had the access to the stream or the video that we have now, and we didn't have the social media. So other than the fact that the Toronto Gators name was kind of gold, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I knew I was going to a team that the manager or GM, whatever you want to call him, Adam Sargon, was promising me, we got a top 10 team at the ISCs. You're going to love it and all this stuff. And we went to our first two tournaments, never won a game. I don't know if we scored a run in the first tournament. And then, of course, we did end up having a good ISCs and finishing fifth with a team that probably shouldn't have finished fifth. But
Right.
we got on a roll and got going. What's that?
This is 2012?
Yeah, it was 2012. I don't even know if we were ranked. I think we were outside the rankings. We got an invite because we definitely did not qualify.
Was it the same team? I'm trying to remember it. It was the same team that, like, Matty Watt started with the Gators too, didn't he? Did he not?
Matty Wall was with the Gators the year before when they ended up in the Deuce. I wasn't at the ISCs that year.
Okay.
Matty Wall and Donnelly Archibald were with this same crew of guys the year before, and they ended up in the Deuce. And then the next year we went and we beat Circle Tap with Jeremy Manley, Callie A's, which was Mason pitching because Whitty was hurt. Yep. And we ended up beating some good teams, and then we ran into Jarvis, and that was bad. But other than that, the rest of it was pretty good. I think Donnie Hale had 7 RBIs in 2 innings against us.
Yeah, he went.
Yeah, that was the year Donnie went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that game probably helped, I guess. But he set records that year, man. So when you got Donnie Hale going off on you, it's you're not the first, probably weren't going to be the last at that point. So it's that was pretty cool. But so you make a splash with a top 10 team. There's a lot of guys that make their way up through the ISC, and it starts maybe a little bit younger. Well, I guess you're 20, but starting on some mid to low ranked teams, getting yourself noticed, and then getting up there. But you got to make the splash on a big boy team, and I only say that just to say that you're playing in all the big tournaments. You're playing with with a team that a lot of eyes are on, and you can get yourself noticed. But I'm sure I can speak for the three of us here. There's some point early in your ISC career where there's something clicks to say, all right, I think I can play at this level. I think I can develop here. I belong. Was there a point for you where after making that jump, you said, you know what, I'm good enough to be here. I can start to become one of the best pitchers in the ISC. Was there a moment or a couple of moments that stand out to you along your early days in the ISC?
One of them that stands out to me, and it's funny because like maybe it should be like the winners bracket final at the ISCs, or it should be a bigger game. But I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but we were in the Mitchell tournament with the Gators the year the Gators won it, and everything got way behind. And I know you guys were in center field in the beer tent watching, you were in center field in the beer tent, and we were playing the Gremlins, Gators versus the Gremlins. And before that game, Terry Bader is definitely a motivator, and I'm a big Terry Bader fan. Terry Bader told me, Sean, and Ryan, he said it very bluntly. He said, Schofield, you're beating the Gremlins tonight. Cleary, you're beating the Chiefs in the morning, and that's our mission for the weekend. That's what we're doing, and the job is done. And he just said it the way that he said it with that much confidence. There was no like, you're going 4 innings, you're going 5 innings, you're doing whatever. And we walked away from it, and I probably pitched one of my best games of the year against the Gremlins. I think we beat them 2-1 or 2-0 or whatever it was. And I remember you guys in center field stayed, and it was late. It was a really late game. And I remember you guys stayed, and I remember a couple guys after the game kind of made a comment that, you know, the guys were standing there watching. They were taking notice. And it wasn't an accident that guys were, well, Jesus, it's 2-0 here. You know, this isn't a 7-6 game or whatever. And I think that was kind of one of those moments where it was, you know, first time beating a top 2 or 3 ranked team through really good game, top team in the world that you guys were at that point, like the 3-time defending champs, is standing there watching you because they're taking it all in. And it was literally like right before the game, Terry said, you're beating the Gremlins tonight. Cleary's beating Chiefs in the morning. That's it. That's our weekend. And that's how it went. And I think that was kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, he has that confidence in me. It's there. It can be done.
Did Cleary beat us in the morning?
Yeah. That was the weekend. That was the weekend. Do you remember?
We were in the beer tent all night. He said it was late, Jace.
Was that? Yeah, we were drinking, obviously.
Yeah.
That was the weekend that I thought Jack Varman was going to fire Terry because we went to the finals against Scarborough, and he wouldn't pitch me or Sean because he said we already did our job, was beat the Chiefs and beat the Gremlins. So he pitched Mitchell, and we lost like 17-4 in the finals because he pitched Ty Sebastian and Thomas Inoka. They had the local TV channel there and put it on the local TV station, and it was a bloodbath.
Wow.
Yeah, Terry never seen that one coming, did he?
No. Well, he said we beat the Chiefs, we beat the Gremlins. Job was done.
Yeah, but he forgot you had another game.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I was interested to see, was there that one game or one moment, and that makes a lot of sense, right? It's a coming out party, probably on your own team, to the other teams, and more importantly to yourself, right? And when I look at you and knowing you for however long, over the past decade or so, your work ethic is one of the things that stands out to me. And you're in an area where I guess you got Sandy, who may be able to come out and catch for you, or some other people, but I see some of the videos you have throwing into a net with friggin', I think you got snow pants on and a toque and all this stuff. Was that something that was in a part of your training in minor ball, or was that something when you got to the ISC you said, I need to do a little bit more, and your training went to a different level?
To be honest, like I know maybe I picked the wrong place to live, but like I live over an hour from the closest catcher that catches me at home. And like last winter, Patrick Stewart caught me a million pitches, and we were in Jeff Frazier, the coach of the Canada Games team here, one of my good buddies. We were in his basement twice a week or once a week, like drive an hour, Patrick drive a half an hour. We get together on Saturday night and pitch in the basement. But for me, like when I was young, and I know even when I started in the ISCs, I was no Adam Folkart. But like when I was young, like I'm talking like minor ball, I stunk. Like I was not a very good pitcher when I was in Pee Wee and Bantam and stuff like that, but I loved it. I really loved pitching. And in order to continue pitching, you have to get better because guys aren't going to keep putting you out there if you're not doing the job. And like from the time I got my driver's license on, I was putting on 200 or 300 kilometers a week, driving to up by the airport, which is an hour from me, or driving to Lance or driving to wherever to find somebody to throw to, because if I wanted to pitch, I had to practice. I had to get better. And you guys know every bit as good or better than I do. You guys have seen Adam go along and cruise and work nice and easy, and then all of a sudden the runner gets on. And then the next pitch makes that different sound when it hits the glove because he can just turn it up a notch. And he was on cruise control. I've never been good enough that I had cruise control. Like I've never been able to be that guy that could just go out and cruise along and work easy and do that stuff. It's always been something that for me, I had to give it everything I had on every single pitch because I just wasn't talented enough to beat you on cruise control. And for me, that was kind of where that work ethic part of it came in. Lots of people who judge a book by the cover could say, Schof needs to spend more time in the gym. Schof needs to lose weight. Schof needs to do this or whatever. For me, my way of getting better at pitching was pitching. So if I could throw 10,000 more pitches this winter than the next guy, then I'm going to do something to get better than that next guy. And that was kind of what my story with it was, is from the time I was young, there was lots of guys that were better than me. And my theory was if I could outwork them, I could be better than them. And I mean, obviously there's still lots of guys out there that are better than me now, but I do everything I can to make it so that no one outworks me.
Yeah. There's like, I know you mentioned there about Adam and cruising a little bit. Like there is lots of pitchers that kind of do that, eh? Like they kind of pick their spots. I feel like Sean Cleary is one of them. He certainly
Sean
is here.
does it. Sean does it in a different way because Sean's not a velocity guy, but all of a sudden he throws one and it's like, when
he needs to, it can get on you pretty quick. Right.
Yeah, I agree.
But then there's also other guys, much like yourself. There's one speed, fucking flat out, and here it is. It's coming, which could be quite effective as well. But Lolly was saying he's seen some videos and stuff, and I remember watching the videos of you guys training online. But there was another video I come across there on Twitter. I usually come across it once a year, and I believe it was a game against the 2017 ISFs against Hong Kong or someone. Would you care to elaborate on this little video where anyway, I'll let you take it away.
I will elaborate on it because no one ever gets the full story on why I was on that pitcher's mount that day.
Let's go.
Dean Holine was the pitching coach. He comes to me. It is like 5 degrees, borderline spit and snow. It is the worst day for playing a ball game in the world. And he comes to me in the third inning of that ball game, which was 2-0, by the way, because the little fellow from Hong Kong decided he was just going to spin a dandy and the boys couldn't touch him. And it's 2-0. I'm looking down the bench like, is anyone here going to take an at-bat serious? Because this kind of sucks out there pitching. And Dino comes down. He goes, "You've done your job." He said, "We'll get Colin or Derek or somebody to throw this last couple innings or whatever. You don't need to be out there pitching in this." And I said, "Dino, it's a 2-0 game. I'm a pitcher. Those guys are hitters. We don't need one of them guys getting hurt because they're out there pitching in this temperature." I said, "I can do it. Like, let me go out and get these innings in. Like, I'll suck it up, whatever." It is horrendous. The pitching conditions out there, the clay and everything's going on. And literally I go out to the mound and fall like an idiot on the pitcher's mound. And I look over at the bench and everybody's over there cackling, laughing and going on. And it was maybe 2 minutes later that, of course, they got a base runner on, and the base runner goes to steal second. Nobody on the bench even yelled that he was stealing, and Avery hit me with an 80-mile-an-hour bullet coming back up the middle that I didn't get out of the way on. So not only was I out there pitching to save Mason or Walsh from getting some innings in, and then I'm getting nailed with my own catcher throwing line drives back at me. So, in my opinion, it's the hitter's fault because the game should have been over.
Were you on first base, Lolly, during this?
Hilly, right there, right? And because you were home.
He tripped and did that little twirl.
Yeah, like it's picture this. He jumped off the mound and it's like he had a Tyrannosaurus Rex arm, right? And he tried like his arm is right, like bent, and he just does the little sideways, and he let it go. I think it went.
No, I didn't. I held it.
Oh well, then
I held it.
Well, the ball ended up over by first base line, and you stumbled. You did the old the old Mull River shuffle, as they call it, over to the first base line, and we're there, right? And you know the standard where you got to put the glove over the face, but then the shoulders start to give it away, right? Because the whole place is laughing. We got to call time, and Scofie and the fella he is like, because you don't know, you're flipping a coin that because he's so intense that he could flip out, but he's also so funny that he could burst into laughter with you, right? So we're all on pins and needles seeing how Scope's going to go to this, and then sure enough, man. Like, so he brushed it off. He wasn't happy by any means because it's, like you said, 4 degrees. We're in a game that we should probably already be done. And then he gets friggin' pinned with the steal. And I'm on first, man. And, like, at that point, this sucks for him. But, man, it's friggin' hilarious for everybody else. But we got out of it, Scope, and you handled it like a champ. But I think that's a good transition, Hilly, because, like I said, we're going to bounce around all over the place here, Scope. But that was 2017, 2016 and 2017, probably 2 of your most memorable years in your pitching career, the success of the teams that you played on. I'll jump back to 2016 first and kind of pave the way for what came in 2017. We talked about the trip the Gators made. You were playing with the Toronto Gators in 2016. They made the trip down to Newfoundland as a team bonding. At the end of that weekend, the title in the paper was first ranked Toronto Gators, 4th ranked in Newfoundland. That's what it was. Never won a game.
Still should have got that on a T-shirt.
Never won a game, but then come out and win the ISC. But those last couple of games, I know were probably some of the most memorable games in your career looking back. Can you walk us through maybe the winner's bracket final or the go to the championship game, and then the championship game from your perspective? What was that like?
The winner's bracket final for me was, obviously being involved in it and pitching as much as I did. But I mean, even as a fan of the game, like that was an incredible game. I think it was 4-4 when I came in. You got the 2 best pitchers in the world going at it, and they're both getting 4 runs scored off of them. I went in the 5th. So, I mean, we're averaging a run an inning off Adam Folkart. You guys are doing the same off Sean Cleary. It's like, okay, here you go. Try to keep him to less than 1 an inning, and you're doing good. But, as far as a fan of the game goes and watching that game, and I forget what it went. Did it go 10 innings or was it the 9th or whatever?
9 innings.
9, I think. It was a
9
hell of a ball game.
It was incredible. The catch Bradley made, the home run Lalu hit. And then for me personally, coming into pitching that situation, the guy that's hit the most home runs off me in my life is Bradley Ezekiel. First batter you're coming in to face, Bradley Ezekiel, and you throw 2 strikes to him, you get an 0-2 count, and you're like, man, I'm dealing tonight. I got her back. She's gone 300 feet. It's like, right on. And so for me, that was kind of like, oh my God, like, did I just cost us the ISCs? Because if you lose that game Saturday night, it's a long road, Friday night, it's a long road Saturday. And to have the boys bounce back, pick me up right away, tie the game, get through the order again. Here's Bradley Ezekiel, bang, home run. It's like, all right, we're going to do something different with that guy because this isn't working. And then, like, not very often in relief do you come in a game and throw to the same guy 3 times.
Right.
And Bradley came up a 3rd time. And I'm thinking to myself, like, there's only 2 spots this ball should go. And one of them's over the backstop and the other one's between the ones on his back. Like, that's it. And I remember Ryan just kind of stormed out to the mound in typical Ryan Boland strut the way that he does and slammed the ball into my glove and gave me that look. I don't even know if he said anything. I don't even know if there was words exchanged. It was just eye contact. And I got Bradley to pop 300 feet straight up in the air in the infield. And when I got that out, it was kind of like, all right, something good is going to happen here. It has to. we got Bradley out. Like something's going to change. And
not overly
sure enough,
concerned about the 4 or 5 hitters in that lineup, is he, Hilly?
To be honest, I was looking forward to anybody but Bradley at that point. But I think going into that at bat, Bradley was like 5 for 5 in the game with 2 home runs and a game-saving catch. So I was looking forward to everybody else.
He was showing off again.
Yeah, he was. He was really being a jerk. But anyway, when Wayne hit that home run, I can remember. Like there was some old guys on that team, like Thomas Macchia and Brad Rona and Wayne Lalu. Like they were not young men. And the emotion that came out of that dugout when that ball left the bat was just something that I'll definitely never forget. And then to go back to the Diamond the next day, to walk in against you guys who hadn't lost hardly a game for the last 3 years, and to go through that game, and especially the way it was, like 3-0 game, the whole game. Mm-hmm. Hilly hits the bomb. Todd Hunter hits the bomb. 3-2, game's getting closer. And then did Shales hit a bomb too? Was it 3 home runs?
Yeah, Shales hit one earlier to make it 3-1.
Right, and then you and Todd Hunter hit one, didn't you?
In the 7th, or was it bottom 6? No, it was, sorry, we were top 7.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh man, here we go. Like, is this going to happen again? And then when Shane hit that one and that little short bastard went running around first base with his arm in the air, I can still remember just like, oh, it was incredible. It was, you guys have been there for the other end of it. It's something that you'll never forget. And for me, I don't think there's anything that can replace the first one. You can win. I don't know how many, you guys got a dozen between the two of you, but like the first one was incredible. Like the feeling of that kind of sense of relief, like you've done something, you've done it. It was awesome. And then to share it with guys like Shane and Ryan and Sean and some of these other guys, Horny, these guys, it was pretty surreal. 2016 was special. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, you guys didn't win that by accident. And it's funny to hear all those Bradley stories. And we know that you guys have, you always say it, he's one of the guys that, as a pitcher, you don't want to face. He's had some success against you. And we've gotten to see it. There hasn't been many teams that I played that Bradley or Hilly haven't been on in the last, 15 years. But we know, coming from whether it's the Gremlins or the Gators, Bradley did it again. Whether it's a catch or a home run or whatnot, it's almost automatic. But for us, and we've had a lot of that success, so it's a bit biased in that regard. But Wayne Lalu was that guy for us. He was the guy you didn't want to see coming up in those big games because he finds a way. We talked about it, I think, on a couple of podcasts ago, Hilly, about how many big hits when our teams lost in those big situations. Man, 60 or 70% of them was because of Wayne Lalu getting a big hit or a walk-off.
He's a clutch hitter, man. He comes up with some big hits, and what a teammate. Yeah. Like nobody has ever said a bad word about that guy as a teammate. I really enjoyed playing with him. I got to do a couple tournaments with the Gremlins this season, and Wayne was there, and I enjoy Wayne as a teammate. He's a pretty special player, special person.
Yeah, I remember when you guys were here in Newfoundland and the tournament was all over and we were downtown on George Street, and I see a couple of you guys. I don't know if you were with them or not, but Lala was there, and Tommy and Oka, a couple of guys. So I run up. We're 3 parts drunk by this point, but
4 parts.
So,
it was 2:30 or 3:30 in the morning.
I see Wayne, right, big old Wayne walking up the street. So I run and I jump up on his back, and a couple of the boys are like, "What's he doing, Hilly? No!" He's like, "That guy's going to kill you." I was like, "It's a big teddy bear, right?" I'm just grabbing hold of him, and he starts laughing, and he's a good shit, man.
I tried to do the fireman carry with him and fell down because you think you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof that hour on George Street. And anyway, we didn't know how it was going to shake out, but sure enough, we're all walking down the road singing songs, arms around each other, and got nothing but great things to say about him. And we actually got to play with Thomas and Oka for the first time this year. Tommy was on the street that day. You got to play with him a couple of times in your career, and it's different because you see the guys so often, year after year, on national teams, on club teams, on whatever, and then there's rivalries, but then you also have guys that you respect, like yourselves, playing with those guys, and you hear they talk about how good a teammates these guys are. And you're like, fuck off, man, they're arseholes, right? Like he's an arsehole. I don't. He probably, because he gets so many big hits and and all that, but we got on the same side with him this year, and what a friggin' beauty Thomas Anoka is, man, to play with. And I said it to him this year. And I'm really glad he got the opportunity to suit up. And there's a few of those guys, Wayne and Tommy being two for me, that you play against them, you got to be worried about them. You get a chance to play with them, like no two better guys you want to suit up with.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed playing with Tommy, but to me, that's the way a lot of, not just the Kiwis, but a lot of the top players carry themselves. Like, in all fairness, if you like the person that you're playing against, they're probably not doing their job all that effectively. Like, they're not beating you. They're not pissing you off. Like, as far as me for a pitcher goes, if you love facing me or you enjoy seeing me on the other team, then I'm not doing what I got to do to do my job. And same with Tommy. Like, I mean, Tommy looks out, he's got the swagger, he's got the look, he's got the confidence, but hey, when he's on your team, it's great. And I mean, he can hit, he can flat out hit. That's the thing. So
he can hit, play infield, play outfield, thinks he can pitch a little too. So he's good.
Oh yeah, he likes talking about that. I know somebody else who talks about pitching too.
Yeah. Still swings the 28-ounce bat. We were in batting practice. I picked up his bat. I said, put that back. Yeah. Well, where's the 24-ounce Rawlings? But yeah, no, it was awesome. But you come out of that huge victory, and then that leads us into 2017. Made the team Canada, which was on your radar for a number of years, and great to see that get rewarded. And then I guess that was the first major event of 2017, if we're talking about ring tournaments now. What's the WBSC? Hilly, you're home with Marcia and welcome in Weston, so you didn't come. I had Mark Johnson as my roommate up there, and it was a cool experience to go up there, 23 hours of daylight and all that stuff, but it's a different place to play ball. And yeah, you come out against Hong Kong and you do the little T-Rex pitch, and you're falling down, falling backwards and doing all that stuff. But I know that tournament for us was a disappointment because of how we finished. We got a medal, but we came off the previous WBSC coming back down 5-0 to put up 10 runs against the Kiwis. We go out and go to the final game against them. Hilly, I know you were watching at home, and it is a monsoon. Now, that's not to be any sort of an excuse why we lost. Both teams are playing in it. We're up, I think, 6 or 7-0, Scof.
7 runs. I think it was 9-2.
It was 9-2. We were up 7 runs in the third or fourth inning. We're a couple outs away from mercing our way to the final, and then it's just coming down. I remember, Scof, you were out there, and it was like you had bricks underneath your cleat with the clay. Like it actually looked like you had a brick. I had a spoon in my back pocket on first base to go over, and we're saying, how are we going to continue playing in this? But what was it like to be on the friggin' mound for that? We know what the result was, but how do you even attempt to go out there and pitch in that?
Yeah, you don't. To be honest, I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but looking back on that, if that was a 32-year-old Justin Schofield instead of a 27-year-old Justin Schofield, I honestly think that our best move in that situation would have been walk off the field and say it was for player safety. Because it was insane. It was literally insane. And I know, like you said, it's not to make an excuse because Nick Hayes went out there and figured out a way to get the ball to the catcher. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the tournament asking us to play in that, it was a joke. It was ridiculous. For me, it was the black eye on my national team career. I didn't know if I was ever going to get to wear the maple leaf again. I didn't know if I was ever going to get another crack. And I know that it didn't have full impact. I mean, obviously your next season and your next season and your next season all impacts whether or not you go back to play. But in your mind, you're thinking, did that hour of my life cost me playing on the national team? And did that hour of my life cost my teammates a gold medal? Like there was some dark thoughts after that one. And I'm sure we all had dark thoughts, but at the end of the day, I was the guy that blew a 7-run lead, which they all talk about it being a team sport, but at the end of the day, when they put the L down, they put it beside the pitcher. And I owned that one. That one hurt. I think looking back at it now, what was probably equally as disappointing is that we didn't figure out a way to bounce back the next morning. In my opinion, we were the best team there. I truly believe that, and I still would say that to this day, that we were the best team there. And we were in no different situation on Sunday morning than what the 2015 team was. Had to win a game to get to the finals, and then beat the Kiwis to win the gold medal. And when we showed up to the Diamond on Sunday morning, we were emotionally defeated from the night before. And I think that was something that I really learned from that whole experience, was that there are, as much as people want to say, like, you don't get too high, don't get too low, you got to stay where you got to stay. Like, we got way too low. Like, we were high all week. We were 7-0. Everything was great. We ran into, whether or not the rain had anything to do with that loss or not, but we ran into a really unfortunate turn of events, and we did not bounce back. And for me, that was the most disappointing part of it all, was the fact that all we had to do was beat a team that I still believe we were better than to get to the Kiwis. And we were unable to do that. And it was frustrating. There was a lot of people across this country, across this game, that I'm sure, why the hell did they put Schofield in? Why did they leave Schofield for that? Or, why? I'm sure there was a lot of questions, but to me, looking back on it, I wish that we could have handled it differently. But I think that's part of how you learn in this game. I mean, not that I wish it was a little less painful, a way to figure things out, but that one was brutal. That one was one that will always kind of be the black eye on things for me for that event. And yeah, hopefully that means that this next one, we get a chance to kind of have some redemption for myself personally.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I mean, it was certainly, in my opinion, that I can't comment on the game and the strategies, decisions, all that stuff, because I wasn't there. But I mean, to me, it was certainly external factors that played a big role in the outcome of that game. But I remember, and oddly enough, it was, I swear it was about 30 degrees and sunny in St. John's, Newfoundland. Oddly enough, I remember I was on the back patio drinking fucking Pepsi because I was waiting for Marcia to call out and say, we got to go to the hospital like any minute. Yeah. And I was watching this game and I was like, you guys got a big lead, and the rains were coming, and those guys started. I mean, they had to play the same conditions too. So I mean, like you said, it's not an excuse, but I was like, how? And especially in an event of that magnitude, a game of that magnitude, I was like, how are they continuing to play? Yeah. Like, and even you're at the home Canada, it's in Canada, and Canada's on the field, and they're still allowing this to happen. Like, pitching decisions, pinch hitting decisions aside, how is this game still happening? Right.
It was nuts.
That was my biggest question. And I couldn't really, sometimes the rain, I know you're watching the Blue Jays, the rain looks different on TV than what it actually is until they show a picture of the lights and stuff. So I couldn't really tell, but it looked like it was spilling.
It was raining as hard as it could possibly rain. Right. And the weird part, the craziest part of it all was that when they did the rain delay, it was raining hard, but it wasn't raining as hard as it was when they restarted the game. Right. They restarted the game when it was raining the hardest it rained all day. And I can remember Ryan coming out, because I had thrown about 14 straight balls, and Ryan came out and was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, do you want to try the knuckleball? And he looked at me like I was an idiot. And I was like, literally, I have zero grip on the ball. Like, I got nothing. Yeah. I'm literally aiming for the middle of the strike zone and hoping it goes somewhere close to it. And I got one there because Charlie Compain or whatever hit one 500 feet that Derek Mason reminds me of every 3 or 4 days. But other than that, like literally, I was just hoping I could get it where Ryan could catch it. And it was not a whole lot of fun. That was bad. Yeah.
It was nuts. But then, like you said, the next day, it's games like that too, that like they're emotionally, mentally draining. Like I don't know. I guess one of the recent games, Lolly, that we had was the winners bracket final of the ASAs. Exactly. We played the Gremlins. We went, I don't know what we went, 10 innings. 10 innings. There was fucking 30 runs scored. And we came up short after all that, right? Yeah. You score 10 or 11 runs, whatever it was, against the Gremlins, and you end up losing, right? We went home that night and had a beer, and I was like, man, we're just like, this is emotionally, mentally draining. And then we came out flat the next morning, and same thing happened. The results spoke for themselves. But like, there's always games like that, man. At that level, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple of things I'll throw in there just to close the loop on what was Whitehorse in 2017. First thing, you didn't lose us the game. If that had to be you coming in a 9-2 game and it's sunny and 20 degrees and you just didn't have your stuff, or they just came and were able to load the bases, got a couple of big hits. It wasn't that. It was tough conditions, right? You weren't throwing balls because you were nervous or you just weren't good enough to throw strikes. It was a lot of factors. I'm on first base, like I said, with a spoon in my pocket. I've never done that in my entire life, to go over. And I'm saying to the umpire, I said, you recognize that this is not normal to go over in the rain and have to get your pitcher, who's big as a horse, putting up his hoof like he's a horse and scraping the clay off him. Now, the one that you threw to Charlie Campaign, you could have cut that one up in the singles and he would have won the batting for the next 4 WBSCs. He got a hold of that one, right? And this isn't a Canadian national team lost the WBSC. New Zealand went out and won it. And more importantly, like you said, we went out and we didn't show up as well as we could have, and Australia beat us. And then they went on and played for the final. So, that was the night game. But Hilly, you hit the nail on the head. When you go through games like that, we all know how important those games are, whether it's the ASC, the winner's bracket final game. When you win it,
wins.
You
win the ASA. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what it's like and what the road ahead is. But as you said to Scope, we're 2 years removed from coming back and doing it again. And part of it was, we were really, really defeated because we lost a 9-2 lead. That's different than when we got beaten in 2015 in, a closer game against New Zealand. We came back. There wasn't as much of an emotional defeat in that one. And we came out and we rebounded. But, we were also playing Australia. They came out, they beat us, they went on. But you didn't lose us that game. It was just a clusterfuck of conditions and errors. And what I'm really proud of, and I know that there's a lot of things that go through your mind in situations like that, especially with the national team and the future on that, you ended up turning around, coming back. You're playing with the Chiefs. You go out, you play a huge role in the Chiefs coming and winning the ISC title, right? You go out and you're joining that team. So to be able to rebound, put that behind you, have a successful ISC season, so you get to go out and you play with them. And then let's fast forward to happier days of what you did in the 2017 Canadian Senior Men's Nationals in Saskatoon. Should go down as one of the best performances, clutch performances in that tournament's history, right? Especially given the dynasty, I guess you would call it, and of what our Newfoundland team had done up in that point. Walk us through that tournament and where you were, because how you showed up, that was one of the most dominating clutch performances I've seen at a Canadian Senior Men's Nationals ever.
To be honest, I think a big factor, and it was I had confidence going in. I knew if everything went well that I had a chance to hold you guys, and I had a chance to hold Suk, and I had a chance to hold Sass. But our bats, we hit, which is something that Nova Scotia's Mastodons team has not done for some years. But, at that point in time, I think we had 3 All-Canadians. We had several guys that just, your Jay Duffys, your Joel Eisners, Donnelly Archibalds. Obviously Nick Shales was a huge factor as our import. Those guys hit the ball, and we were scoring 6 or 7 runs every game. And instead of me going out and pitching 110, 112 pitches of it's 1-0, it's 2-1, it's whatever, by the time we got to the weekend, I was fresh. And Travis Nevin and Donnelly Archibald had done a very, very good job of helping take some of those innings through the week, and the hitters did what they had to do. we got into Saturday and had to beat the Angels to get to you guys, which was me head-to-head against Evo. And I love Dev. Dev and I have pitched against each other 1,000 times. We're the same age, born the same year, midget nationals, junior nationals, senior nationals. Like, we've pitched against each other so much, and I love pitching against him. Like, and I think he loves pitching against me. I think it's one of those things where we look at each other and it's like, all right, nod your head. Yeah, I'm bringing it. Here it is. We went out. We had a really close game with those guys to get to you guys. And for whatever reason that night, I don't know if I've ever thrown the ball that hard. Like, I felt like that night game against you guys was better than the day game the next day. I mean, maybe it was just because it was under the lights or whatever, but when we beat you guys, I remember kind of a sense of like, okay, they can be beat, but you also just beat them under the lights. Now you got to go prove it tomorrow in the daylight. And that was kind of like, it was a little bit of satisfaction, but it was also like a little bit of a challenge. Like, okay, like, you did it once, now prove that you can do it and go do it again. And the next day, I mean, that game was one diving catch away from being tied going into extras. One bounce one way or one bounce another way, going the other way. So it's not like we smoked anybody or did whatever, but to win the national championship with your home province, which I know both of you guys have done multiple times, but to do that with my home guys, with my guys that I've fought and scrapped and clawed with for so many years, was literally, if that was it, if you had to hang your cap on the career, then I could do it. And, there's people out there that say, well, Cleary wasn't there, or, it's Canadians. It's not the ISCs or whatever. Go play 2 games a day, every day for 5 or 6 days straight, and go through the gauntlet that tournament is. And then we'll talk at the end of it, because to go and win that tournament is tough. It is a war. And to beat you guys, which, I mean, obviously the dynasty, the team that you guys have put together, was incredible. It was pretty special. And to be able to share that, I mean, I could have been an import and went and pitched for somebody else and did whatever and won one. It would have never meant what it meant to play with those guys. To see Jason Sanford's reaction after all the rings that man had won and everything that he'd done in the sport of softball, to be able to share that with him, to see how much that meant to him. Jay Duffy, Jeff Ellsworth, Aaron Harvey, Patrick Stewart, these guys that had put in time. It was really special. So, I mean, I know the Outside the Chute boys took a little heat because we talked about it a million times on that one, but it was something. I mean, the Nationals have been going on for 60 years and Nova Scotia's won 3. To be a part of one of those 3 that they've won is pretty special to me. So that was definitely something that will never, ever leave for me. That was a memory that I'll cherish for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And listen, it is part of your story. So those guys shouldn't hesitate to tell it, right? You know what I mean? No matter what anyone says. But I do have a funny story from that championship game. You talked about earlier, you said about Ryan Mullins, his patent and walk to the mound.
Yeah.
So Shalesy's up in the first, I think it was the first inning, and I think it might have had a couple out. I can't remember, but there was a runner on base. I think first base was open, and he comes out, he goes, Hilly? He goes, I'm not going to intentionally walk him, but you're going to unintentionally walk him. You just throw it in the other box, right? I'll catch it, throw it. I was like, yeah, got it. Perfect. Sounds good. We're going to put him on, right? Go after the next guy. It might have been Donnelly, who was hitting pretty good too. First pitch, I throw, which I thought was in the outside box. Anyway, he proceeds to hit it fucking 280 feet, fucking over the fence. I look in, and Boley's just got this look of disgust on his face. He's like shaking his head as if to say, what the fuck is this guy doing out there? So that's all bad enough. And I start walking back to the rubber, get the new ball. And I hear this man chirping me from up on the bleachers. Yes. And it was Iser's old man. He was like, throw it again, Hill, or something like that, right? I was like, this prick. I was like, this is shit.
Yeah. It's
funny.
But you hit the home run,
actually told that story. Yes, my old man told that story in Newfoundland. We were talking, and I forget who we were talking with. And Joel was standing there. Carl wasn't with us. But my dad was standing with Carl when he was chirping you. And Dad said, this is his story and he's sticking to it. He said, after Shales hit that home run and Carl started chirping you, he said that he looked right at Carl and he said, Carl, shut the fuck up. Leave that man alone. Leave that man alone. Do not fucking poke the bear here. That man's hit a big home run every championship game he's ever fucking played. Leave him alone. Sure enough, you hit a home run. You're coming around third base.
Let's go around third base, yeah.
Looking right up at him in the stands. And my dad said that, like, literally, if he could have choked Carl right there, he would have, because he was like, leave him alone. Don't agitate him.
And I've never done anything like that before. Like, never, like, always put your head down and run around. But I was around at third base and I was like, fuck this guy. I found him. I just stared at him the whole way around third base.
Dad literally told that story last weekend at Nationals. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that is wicked, man. But it was, we've played against that group for a long time, being both from the eastern side of Canada. And it sucks to lose. We weren't happy by any means. We were freaking crushed. Right? It doesn't matter what happened before that. You lose in championship game at Nationals. You lose for your province. You're absolutely defeated. But you also tipped the cap, and it was cool to see, knowing how much you guys have gone through the war together and grinded every single year, never broke up, always came back, represented yourselves with class and pride. And, it's as close to happy you could be in that moment, looking across. A lot of teammates there too, and we're starting to wind it down here, but there's still a few more things I want to go through with you, and I will pause here just to talk a little bit about some of the things that you've done. We talked about the 2 ISC championship rings that you've won in 2016 with the Gators, 2017 with the Chiefs, and then this memorable one now with the Canadian championship gold medal in 2017. But a lot of these things don't happen without you carrying the load on the mound. And 2014, 15, and 2022 top pitcher at the Canadians, 2016 MVP at the Canadians, 2017 playoff MVP at the Canadians, and then 18 and 19 getting all Canadian. From a guy who didn't know what top-level ball in some of these tournaments were a short 10 years ago, you've made your stamp on the mound, and it's not just in the rings and the awards. It's more so in your legacy as a teammate and as a gamer and a guy that people want to play behind. But you mentioned Jason Sanford, and there's a couple of things I want to talk about now. One, it's you've gotten to pitch with a lot of really good catchers. You talked about Ryan Boland now, but I want to hone in on Sandy for a minute, just being from the home province and getting to do it at a bunch of different levels with him. What can you say about that guy?
Truly, I would argue, and I know Ryan probably would be mad at me for saying this, but I would argue with anybody on this one that for probably an 8 or 10 year stretch, Jason Sanford was the best defensive catcher in the world. He was so good at his position, and defensively, he did things that just nobody else does. Like, I screw up a lot. Like, I miss my spots a lot, and I throw the ball fairly hard. And most of the time when I miss my spot, I'm not getting a pitch because the catcher's doing his best to survive and get the ball in front of him. And Sandy would catch pitches that I missed my spot on by 16 inches and get you a strike. And it's like, how did you do that? And he just grit his teeth, throw the ball back at you 85 miles an hour, and you just go at it again. But the one I'd like to say about Sandy that meant the most to a lot of us at home, and it's nothing to do with his play, that you guys both know, Sandy's a quiet guy. Sandy's not a guy that says a lot in the circle. He's not the guy who leads the speeches. He's a quiet leader because he's tough and he's a great teammate. He's a gamer, but he's not the guy that you predict to make a big speech at the big time. When we won that Nationals in 17, we all did our huddle in the outfield, and Sandy, we were all down on our one knee, and Sandy, very voice cracky and very hard time getting the words out, spoke up and told us that when he went to he went to his very first Team Canada camp, and they asked everybody at Team Canada camp, I don't know if it was written down or if you had to say it out loud or what it was, but they asked everybody to submit what their goals in the sport of softball were. And Sandy, maybe being a little bit naive like I was when I didn't even know what the ISCs were, he said that he told them his goal in the sport of softball was to win a national championship with his home province. Wow. And he said it wasn't to win the ISCs, it wasn't to win the ASAs, it wasn't to win the world championships. It was to win a national championship with his home province. And to be able to throw that last pitch and have Blair hit that ground ball and get out and have Sandy come to me and the feeling like it was the emotion that he had after that win, that man had 15 rings at that point. And for him to have that kind of emotion and that kind of feelings towards that win, how much it meant to him, that was the type of gamer that Sandy was. Is he wanted to win that tournament before he was all done. And I miss him big time. I mean, Patrick Stewart did a phenomenal job this year catching me with the Mastodons. No knock to him whatsoever, but Sandy was special. And you guys know what he did with you guys with Hill United. He caught every game for a long, long time. And his body took a lot of abuse, but me and him didn't have like a super vocal relationship. We didn't keep in touch. We didn't talk a lot. Like, it wasn't like we were buddy away from the field, but when we got to the field, we both understood each other and we had a plan. And no, he was a treat.
Yeah. And it was cool to see too, how he could just, it didn't matter who was throwing. He could just connect with that pitcher. Like they could get on the same page. It was just, especially at the top level, it doesn't always happen. You got pitchers and catchers who could be from different countries, like Adam and Sandy were. But for whatever reason, right from the first inning, they were through to each other. Like they just connected. They just got on that same page. I bet you I can count on a hand how many times Adam shook him off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Just trust, right? You just
I can
count
trust. On a hand.
You can count on a hand.
On one hand, I meant to say.
You can count on one hand the number of hands that. Yeah. No, but it's true, man. And it's sometimes at that level, we're spoiled with some of the catchers that we've had the chance to play with, right? I'd look at me personally, Ryan, and you got Bruno now, and Sandy, and Patty Shannon, and Sean O'Brien, Craig Crawford. Like that. You're splitting hairs when you're talking about that level, but there's no doubt the impact that they have, and knowing how special it was. We talk about the pride associated with winning for your province and us being from Newfoundland, but it's very much the same thing coming from that group. And it was great to see you guys get to cap that off. And knowing how hard you work, and we talked about 2017, you've gone through a lot of adversity over your career. A lot of success that we talked about. But can you talk a little bit before we go about that road from 2017, with the national team, how that WBSC went, having the success you had at the ISC and the Nationals, to now that road from 2017 to now being back representing Team Canada, preparing to go into New Zealand. We're talking about that road to redemption that that fire under your ass. But can you talk a little bit about that whole journey and that road from then till now? What was it like for you?
It was long. 2017 seems like forever ago, with going through the pandemic and going through as many seasons as what there was and everything. There was definitely a lot of ups and downs. I mean, truthfully, I was in 2018 after the Nationals in St. Croix, when I found out that they were going a different direction for Prague, I was not in a great spot. Like, I had no intentions of not being with that team. I had it in my head. I truly believed that I was going to be there, and I was kind of blindsided by that one. And maybe that's my own fault. Maybe I should have seen the writing on the wall, but I went from making that team at 27 and being guilty maybe of thinking I was more of the core than what I was, to being on the outside looking in, and then making the decision to go play in the Midwest. Not that I had anything bad to say about going to play for the bunch that I went to play with, but that next season when I went to play there, the whole reason why I left where I was to go play there was because I need to go pitch more. I need to be the man somewheres. I need to be an ace somewheres. I need to do whatever. And I got no exposure. Like you go to these Ontario tournaments and you have success, like somebody's there every weekend to see, between Elsie or John Hill or whatever, or the streaming that's there, whatever. Well, I played a whole season in the Midwest, and I don't know if anybody knew I played a game. And 2019 ended in Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie I was okay there. Nothing was going to be decided. Then the pandemic comes. You can't do anything during that. When 2021 came, I was all in. Like, okay, if I go to the ASAs with somebody, I go to the ISCs with somebody, I go to the Canadians with somebody, I got to get back on that team. And again, they chose to go in a different direction. And to be honest, when they named the roster after that Rawlings thing last year, I thought I was done. I said, well, by the World Championship, by the time it comes, I'll be 32. They're taking the same team. I was under the understanding they thought they were taking the same team to Argentina that they were taking to New Zealand. I said, I'm done. That's it. And I'll be completely honest with you. I made a phone call one night and had a chat with Ryan Boland, and after we had signed with Bear Creek, and I said, do you think I should just get my name taken off of that 40-man roster? I said, is it a waste of my time to do the stuff that's required with it to be on that? Like, am I done? Like, do you really believe that I'm done? And Ryan's answer was, we're going to do some special things this summer. I said, don't you take yourself off of that roster. And I said, okay. I said, I won't, but I truthfully, I really believed I was out of the mix. I thought they were going in a different direction. And all I did this summer was put 100% effort into every time that I went out to the field and tried to do the very best that I could do. And when I had the conversation with John Stewart for him to tell me that I was going, the expression that what he said to me was, he said, Scof, you made it impossible for us not to take you to New Zealand, and we'd like to take you to New Zealand. And for me, I took that as the utmost compliment I possibly could, because that was my mission. Like, I felt like I was out of the mix, and the only way that I could make that team was by outworking everybody and making them have no choice. And I really felt that with this summer, I mean, I pitched a lot. I picked up extra weekends when I could pick up extra weekends, and the sole purpose of that was to get as many innings as I possibly could to try to get ready for November. And when he came to me and told me that I was going, it was a moment of relief, which then it was all of a sudden it was holy shit, it's real. Now I got to really get ready. I put all this work in to get back to here. I'm not going to finish third again. And that's kind of where I'm at with it now, is that it's been a long journey of up and a long journey of down. And now being named to that team, I'm really proud that I was able to accomplish it. And now I want to go to New Zealand and right some wrongs. I want to go and fix some things that didn't go my way in the past.
Yeah, that's
wow.
It's just an amazing story, really. I mean, and myself and Lolly, we were in pretty much all the same tournaments this year. We got to see a pitch all year, and we had the same conversations. Like, this guy's on a mission. Like, he's putting in the effort, and he looks real good. And you had a great summer, and the results showed, right? And we just have some beer tent talk with other guys and stuff, and I'm like, this guy's, he's going to be there. He has no choice. He's forcing their hand. Yeah. He's going to be there, right?
And that's more or less the way that Stewie put it. You forced us to take you, and that was my goal, because I mean, there's going to be people out there that say, 16-man roster, you don't need 4 pitchers. Why'd you take 4 pitchers? Whatever. That was my goal. I don't care if they take 4 pitchers or 8 pitchers. Like, it's my goal is to make it so that they can't cut me. Oh, yeah. Make it so that I make it impossible for them to say no. And I've put a lot of time and a lot of effort into getting there. And now the challenge of it will be continuing to put that time and effort in and getting ready and staying ready. And I just can't wait for the opportunity. If it's the first inning of the first game or the 7th inning of the last game, that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is getting that opportunity to try to do right. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, man. And huge congratulations for getting to this point, and you should take it as the utmost compliment, because that's, I know, knowing Stewie, that's how it's intended. We talk about the national team in a lot of different respects, and it's good to name a core, right? And it's good to leave the remaining spots, but have them up for grabs. Like sometimes you see that there's remaining spots, but maybe the team's not named yet, but those spots are sewn up in some regards. But going into this year and these last roster spots, they left them up for grabs. And
it was a battle. It was a fight. Yeah.
They wanted to see what the Canadian ball players could do. And, hats off to them. The real hat here is off to you and the other guys that made those spots by making it impossible to cut them. And it's the truest compliment you can get. It's a recognition of the hard work that's gone in. And we all know that a consistent outcome on the ball field is the result of hard work people don't see off the ball field. And to be able to balance that with the adversity and dealing with the highs and lows mentally that go along with that, man, I can't tell you how proud we are of you and how much we're looking forward to seeing what you're going to bring down there. You're a hell of a teammate, hell of a competitor. You're a winner. And, they did the right thing by naming you back, because it's hard work and a man on a mission there. And as you said, now the real work starts. And it's great to get you on and talk through candidly and in some aspects about your career and what you've done. You're an absolute beauty, buddy, and can't thank you enough for coming on. Thank you.
I appreciate it, boys. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoy what you guys are doing. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for coming on, big fella, and good luck on the old moose hunting trip there in a few weeks.
Oh yeah, we'll let you know how we make out.
Yes, sir. Well, enjoy Codroy Valley, buddy. And speaking of Codroy Valley, we got Lucas and Nick here, and a little bit of rum ragged to take us out.
Ladies man, but I'm a man now. For courting 6 girls all at once they use me. My mother said it was naughty, I should kiss her back. But I said if it's naughty, sure it's also very